Welcome back. Today's going to be an acoustic guitar day. Let's check out this guitar from Glarry. All right, let's get this thing open, Pumpkin. This is better than most of the Glarry bags. Usually they're kind of flimsy. This feels like a little better canvas. Anyhow, comes with a gig bag. Now the guitar might give you a clue as to what we're looking at here. Perfect. There you go. First look at the Glarry. I'll have to look up the actual model number, but I'm just going to call it the bull-backed acoustic guitar. Oh, there's wires in there that are moving as I move the guitar. It's kind of off-putting. Okay, there it is. It's got a nice tall bridge. A lot of room to go down if I need to. Electronics, presence, treble, mid, and bass. Battery check. I'm sure there's no batteries in it. And it takes a 9-volt. All right, so I'm going to get a 9-volt, clean it up, and we'll be right back.
One eternity later.
It's been more than a few moments since I last filmed part 1, where I went to look for that 9-volt battery. Grabbing that 9-volt battery and putting it in, first thing I looked at was the action on the guitar, and it was comically high. I mean, ridiculously high. Unplayably high, make no mistake. First thing I did was check the truss rod. It had never been touched before. It was just as loose could be, so I gave it about 6 or 7 turns to get it to where it was tight. And given the amount of relief that it had, I just tightened it down till it felt pretty darn snug, and then put a level on it, and it turned out pretty good. So now the fretboard is perfectly level. The nut is cut in pretty good. It's a plastic nut. Here's where the problem arises. After adjusting the truss rod, the action on the high and low E was both about 6 millimeters, which is still way too high for anybody, I think. And besides the action being incredibly high, the intonation was so far out that even playing an open cowboy chord sounded horrible. So for playing the cowboy chords, the only way to make it work was to tune this down about half a step to compensate for the total lack of intonation. Which brings me to why. And this is not the original bridge. This is a bridge that I put in. The original bridge was plastic and it was flopping around. I mean, it was not snug at all. It had a lot of room to wiggle back and forth, and that's what it did. It leaned forward. And by leaning forward, they really mess with the intonation points, especially with this, which has to be as far back as possible. I looked through my bag of parts and I found an acoustic bone saddle. So I trimmed it up, and this is real T Woodford territory here, but to get the action where you want it, you measure what you have and you figure out what you want, and you multiply that by 2, and that's how much material you take off of the saddle. And that's what I did. I compared it to the old one, and I took off 2 millimeters to start and put on the old strings, let it settle. Still too high for my taste, so I took it out again, took off another 2 millimeters, and changed the strings to a nice set of Ernie Ball acoustics. And it's much better now. It's much better now. The action is still a little high for my taste, but it's okay for an acoustic guitar. 3 millimeters on the low E, and 2.7 on the high E. Again, I still think that's a little high for a lot of people. And make no mistake, this is best served as an acoustic guitar. The electronics, in my opinion, are kind of flat and muddy. And if you're anywhere in proximity to the amplifier, it feeds back pretty horribly. The electronics on this are scratchy. I'm going to use some contact cleaner to hopefully make it better, but they are, out of the box, very scratchy. There is a cable that goes from the control panel, and it goes down here to the output jack, which is down here. And that cable is not attached in any way. So in future plans, I'm going to take this control panel off, take it out, put a little piece of double sticky tape in there, a little piece, just to hold that cable in place so it's not, it's just a cable, but it sounds like dead bugs inside of it. The grain on the front is nice. It is a spruce top, which I think helps add to its acoustic sound. The tuners on this are cheap and inexpensive tuners, but I have no complaints with them. They they're kind of buttery almost. They're okay, and I think they have a higher than normal gear ratio. I don't think they're 18 to 1s because you got to give it a lot of turns to get those strings in tune. So that's probably a higher gear ratio, probably closer to 21 to 1. Just guessing on that. I didn't measure it or look at it. They seem to have a higher ratio to me. And with the new saddle, the intonation is spot on. Had to take a file and take a little bit here to make this bevel back more, and a little bit here to make this one bevel forward a little more. But after that, turned out fine. So it sounds okay for an acoustic guitar. Something I would consider just leaning in the corner for a knockabout. You know, this was cheap. This was around $70 or even less with coupons and stuff. I did buy this at Temu. If you're interested, I'll put a link to it in the description below. You can buy it at Temu, I believe Amazon, or direct from Glarry. Right now, Temu's just blowing it out on guitar prices for the cheap ones, while I've seen Amazon prices rising pretty dramatically. Temu's still pretty respectable in the pricing arena. Would I recommend this Glarry guitar to anybody? Maybe. Just my final thoughts on this Glarry acoustic electric plastic bowl back guitar. The one that I received was not playable and it needed a lot of work, and not the kind of work that you just can fix with an Allen key, although that was part of it. But it's the kind of work that you kind of have to know what you're doing, or at least be willing to learn how to do it, because saddle adjustments on an acoustic they're not as easy as on electric. It's just not screws you can turn. If you mess up, you can turn it back. This, you're shaping a piece of bone to meet the noting requirements that you need. Not great at all, but playable, which is more than I can say than it was when it came out of the box. So if you get one of these, be prepared. Taking this to a tech or a luthier to get set up is really foolish, because you're going to pay probably twice what this thing cost. It's just not worth it. So unless you're willing to suffer some pretty poor action, or you're willing to make the adjustments yourself, this guitar is probably best avoided. There it is, the Glarry copy of the Ovation Celebrity Elite. Not a great guitar by any means, but it was, you know, kind of fun getting my chops as far as putting in saddles and intonating them on acoustic guitars. I don't have a lot of experience with that. But again, unless you're ready to tackle that yourself, I would probably avoid this guitar unless you can see it first to make sure that the action is not as bad as the one that I received. So that's my thoughts on this guitar. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I do appreciate it. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. YouTube doesn't mind if you do either one. And if you want to put some algorithm engaging comment, I do appreciate that as well. So until next time, enjoy yourself, take care of yourself, and peace.